So I used to live in the village. In the village, I mean, it gets really dark because there's not much like, light pollution and there's not much street lights. As I was walking, I remember I turned right and then I saw there's this one intersection and there's this one street light. And it looks like a person wearing a really long white robe. It looks like a white robe and her hair was long and she just kind of looked down like this. And I was very curious at the time and I'm like, man, I better check it out. And I look around, there's nobody around. This lady started like approaching me, but it's not like she's walking towards me. She's just kind of floating very slowly, like coming towards me. And I'm like, I freaked out. I'm like, oh, my mom's like, what happened? I'm like, I think I just said a ghost. I'm like, so it's like, well, that's what happened when you stayed up late.
I definitely believe in spirits. I think it's like an energy or an entity that definitely exists. It doesn't manifest itself in material form, but doesn't mean it does not exist. Maybe we aren't able to see it physically, but you could definitely feel the presence of that energy, of that spirit, if you want to call it that.
So for me, spirit means more of, it's the soul, right? Like we are one and it's one in one. So the spirit itself is what lives in us. So when we leave this earth, pretty much it is the physical self that's leaving, but the energy, which is the spirit, the soul, carries on.
I believe that there's a physical experience that we're having that's connected to our spirit, that everyone has a spirit within them. And that, after we kind of transition out of this physical body, that there's still an experience that will occur.
Like if I die, like let's say if I get murdered in this room or if I hung myself, if I kill myself in this room, my spirit will go unrest because I die of an unusual circumstance. You know what I mean? That's why I believe ghosts are exist because like for example, like there's so many places in Indonesia where like there's a lot of like mass murder and stuff like that, and that's where you get like a lot of ghost stories because there's a lot of bad spirits, unrest spirits and stuff like that. You know.
For me, the difference between asking, do you believe in ghosts and do you believe in spirits? I think, to me, like ghosts always kind of connects to like what we've seen on television and film. There's something unresolved in their life that they're kind of like haunting or being in spaces.
In my country, there's a belief that the ghost can never harm you physically, but it will definitely haunt you and mess with you mentally until you probably kill yourself. Like if you can't handle with it.
I don't classify my ancestors as ghosts. I count them as spirits who pretty much, when we leave this earth, we become ancestors. Like my grandmother who just passed in June, she became my ancestor, someone I can call on to.
Trinidad culture, definitely there's a presence of spirit belief or folklore, traditional, oral, passed down from ancestral beliefs, I would say. As an island that was colonized, there's definitely a mix of indentured servants and slaves like from East India and Africa. And just through that process, there's a wide range of folklore that's been passed down for generations where spirits is a huge part of traditions or beliefs or superstitions, if you want to call it that. Just to name a few, you definitely have beliefs in like duendes or lajables or sukunyas or
Kuntilanak is a woman with really long hair and really high pitched laugh. They usually like hang out in the tree, like
them. Then there's another which is sukunya, which is like pretty much a spirit that feeds off of your blood. So you would wake up in the morning and you have what we would see like what a hickey would look like in a sense.
Cinder Bolong is a woman who goes to usually has a hole in her body and like it's like rotten holes, like a lot of like maggots and stuff like that. Bolong means hole in Indonesia.
Duendes is a common one where the belief is these are young children who died prior to being baptized. These young kids who died and now are prohibited from entering heaven roam earth. It's believed that they just kind of entice other young kids to stray away from their homes into like the forest or the bush. These are some of the things that I have been passed down from grandparents, and subconsciously I just believe in them. And I think it's just the idea of once you accept something exists is really hard, right? So like ignorance is bliss. Now you know it, you can't unknow something.
My journey to believing in spirits, I mean, honestly, it really happened when I was young. My mother and father were ordained ministers, and there were things that would happen in the service that I could not explain. And that was kind of what my like gateway into understanding that you can't connect to people who are not here.
I do believe in God because I was born and raised in traditional Adventist, Seventh-day Adventist church. I think if you believe in God, you have to believe in ghosts, because even in Christian church, like Lucifer and Satan, they all came from God's side of angels.
I was born and raised as a Christian, and went from, I think, middle school, high school to becoming a Mormon. And then from Mormon, becoming adulthood, became a Hebrew Israelite. I didn't know the whole meaning of spirit, right? I just knew we just died, you bury someone, you go to the funeral, and that's it. I remember one time I had a niece, her name is Alicia Marie Wiley, and I call her Lily. And she had went missing. And I want to say within like the third week of search, looking like in our search, I called out to her. I said to her, I said, Lily, like, Auntie's tired. Like, I'm tired. Like, I need you. Like, I need you to show us where you at. And literally, we got the phone call that they found her. And the same situation happened where we finally went to trial because it wound up being her boyfriend who killed her. And it was a domestic violence situation. And to go through a murder trial was very exhausting. I remember going into it and saying, I called out to her. I said, Auntie Ty, I'm exhausted. Like I need you. Like I need you. And literally, when I tell you, we got a guilty verdict in our third trial after 4 years.
Sometimes, things happen, like I hear like random noise in the dark. I'm like, oh, and I start freaking out. I'm like, come on, man, let's go, man, let's get out of here. And people, I'm like, dude, stop being a sissy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why do you believe in ghosts?
I think some people might think it's weird, for lack of better words, or just maybe they think I'm crazy. You don't necessarily expect people to believe what you believe, right? You can believe, whatever you want. Obviously, you can't believe that the sky is pink, right? Because it's clearly blue.
I think people, they refuse to believe in spirits because I think mostly what they've learned about it has been from other people in terms of other people's interpretation. So what they've seen on television or in film may not necessarily be the reality. And I think it always tends to be the haunting or the conjurings, which exists, but I think that, we do a lot more focus on kind of like the darkness to spirit than also like the light work that you can have that is not scary and spooky. As much as that is entertaining, there's other parts to it as well that I think can be balanced in terms of how it's displayed.
In Western culture, especially in America, like it's really hard to believe in that kind of things because science is very much ingrained in everyday's life.
Just enter conversation with an open mind and think, yeah, there is a possibility that spirits exist. I think saying it doesn't exist or creating this wall of not allowing someone else's opinion or someone else's belief to be recognized is a dangerous thing.
My believing in spirit has changed me as a person in many ways. I think I've become much more of a like self-assured, confident person. I think that like through my journey into spirit, I've learned more about African history. I have a different I have a very different relationship with death now. Like before, I used to be like really afraid of it, not wanting people in my life to die. But now, because I know that, you know, there is more to come. To me, it's just more, it's really about like our life experience as a spirit versus like a human being. And this is just one form that we're in.
Spirits is somebody that you can call on. They don't like that. They stay with you always. They become your ancestors. And that's typically literally how I process like spirits and how I see them. And so her death, and even with my grandmother's death, I just realized like, wow, I just earned another ancestor.
If you like this video, make sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with all of our RealWorks YouTube videos. And don't forget to watch the films of the next generation of filmmakers.